Welcome back to Sunday Vibes, one and all. This is the show where you send in your questions and we attempt to answer them while sat in a pub. The first one was sent in by South Bank Army, and he says, which club are your underdogs for the coming season? Patrick van Straten, who are you good to go for?
Well, I think I want to talk about a club who I don't think they're going to break into the top six. I don't think they're going to get into the Champions League places.
Yeah.
But they are going to be the best side in the league outside the top six this season. That's going to be Leicester City, I think. They came 9th last year, and they did lose 5 of their final 7 games. But at that point, I think they were just spinning their wheels. Yeah, okay. So this is a little bit conditional on them getting in a creative young winger to replace Mahrez.
Yeah.
I think they need to do that. We were talking about Malcolm off camera, who obviously is in negotiations with Roma, with Inter, with Everton. I think he'd be an excellent replacement.
Really would.
But I really like the business they've done. They got in Johnny Evans, and while he's not a long-term option, he only cost them 3.5 million. He's certainly competent. He's going to be great in the heart of that defence.
I completely forgot they'd signed him.
Yeah, they got Ricardo Pereira. There was a time that he was linked with Man United, with Tottenham, with Inter Milan. He's now gone to Leicester as well for only £20 million. Absolutely outstanding last season. Got 4 assists and 2 goals. I've got his numbers here: 5.4 tackles and interceptions a game, but also 1.3 key passes.
Yes.
So a guy who's going to do a job at both ends of the pitch, and so he will replace a little bit of that Mahrez creativity. And another guy who'll do that is James Maddison, who's obviously coming off a fantastic season at Norwich. I think he got 14 goals, 8 assists, which is pretty incredible stuff for a guy who's 22.
Yeah.
Nearly 3 key passes a game. That was outstanding as well. One of the best tallies in the Championship. So I think a lot of these moves make really good sense. Pereira and Maddison are long-term moves. Johnny Evans is a very sensible, low-risk move. So I think if they go and get a winger in, Kelechi Iheanacho, I think will have a better season next year. Jamie Vardy's coming off an absolutely fantastic campaign.
Upgraded in the right areas, right?
Yeah,
because they
indeed,
conceded 60 goals last season. Only 4 teams conceded more. And I think a large part of that was the deterioration of Wes Morgan, Rob Huth being completely out of it for the season, Danny Simpson not being terribly good. So they've improved the obvious areas, and now they have the luxury of just thinking about where can we strengthen the attack.
There's no defence that's behind Wilfred Ndidi should be conceding that many goals. Like Wilfred Ndidi's doing so much in midfield that any competent defenders behind him should be able to mop stuff up. But when you're Wes Morgan and your legs are going, Robert Huth and your legs are going, then it's very difficult for you to cover large areas of the pitch.
Benalouan.
Wow,
terrible.
I do have one problem with Leicester, and that is, I think Puel is a good manager, but he does clearly have deficiencies when setting out an attacking unit. Had it at Southampton, had it towards the back end of Leicester City season last year. And when you take Riyad Mahrez out of that attack, I know this is conditional on them bringing in a winger, I think their attack looks a little bit weak. I know Vardy does score goals, but behind him, Kelechi Iheanacho, not the most experienced of forwards, and put up good numbers at Man City. I struggle to see Okazaki as really being...
He's a useful player.
He's okay.
The thing
he's
is, though, Mahrez
not much wide talent at all at the club.
But Mahrez has never had huge creative numbers. Like, his key passes have never been off the charts. They've always been very solid.
No, but he's a threat from wide.
Yeah, what's impressive about Mahrez is that he's very good. He's good at everything. He can dribble, he can shoot, he can create.
And he also causes defenders to be concerned about him. So if I'm a defender looking at Leicester City, I'm probably not doubling up, but we're at least increasing effort on pressing on Riyad Mahrez. Without Mahrez's creativity from wide, and I think we can kind of all agree they're maybe missing another winger on the left, my focus goes on to Vardy.
This is why Malcolm, I think, would make sense. Malcolm was on a Bordeaux side where essentially nobody else was doing much of note at all. And he was often having to drop deep into his own half, run the transition, essentially get the ball from the defensive third into the final third, and then often either be the goal-scoring threat himself or create after having got the ball there.
His shot numbers were massive, weren't they? And that definitely helped replace the void left by Riyad Mahrez. I think he was taking around 2.5 to 3 shots per night. I think he's getting over a cross and a half in, so definitely makes sense from that point of view. But you do have Kelechi Iheanacho, and his stock is on the rise at Leicester, having started from a deficit. You have Damari Gray, who's hopefully more of a finished article after another season, another promising pre-season. Now, Puel does have a decent track record of improving youngsters, so that hopefully is the case. But yeah, they could do with one more marquee signing. And one of my favourite transfer rumours of this pre-season is selling Ahmed Musa for 40 to 50 million.
Get rid of him.
To a club in Qatar. Imagine.
Get rid of him.
50 million, he's got to go.
I wish they'd got Felipe Anderson instead of West Ham, actually. I think that would have been...
or Shaqiri instead of Liverpool. But I mean, it's a harder sell, right? He's going to play more games.
Though I think Felipe Anderson, Shaqiri to me is a very clear downgrade on Mahrez, as good as Shaqiri is. Whereas Felipe Anderson, I think, is much more at the same level.
That dovetails quite nicely into who you're going to talk about, right? Which is...
I mean, I'll mention them briefly. I think West Ham have done a lot better business than they did last summer. I think West Ham's identification of targets last summer was effectively, who was in the team of the season in 2011 from David Gold, and he just went out and picked him up. And okay, some of them maybe a little bit similar. Jack Wilshere, I'm not overly convinced about signing, but again, taking him on a free, it's fairly low risk proposition.
Yeah, I think it's probably quite low risk.
Nothing can really go wrong. Yes, he's on high wages, but some of the other signings, wasn't Yarmolenko's biggest fan at Dortmund, I have to say, but I think for a club like West Ham, he's a perfectly adequate signing. I think Felipe Anderson, as you've already talked about, is a fantastic move. So I think West Ham have done much better business, and the best business they've done is obviously bringing in Pellegrini. I think Pellegrini is an outstanding manager, and I'm sure he's going to get a massively improved side out of the players they've got. Because they still have some fairly talented players at their disposal. If Lanzini, I know he's still injured, but when he comes back, if he's fit, he's a very, very good player.
Masuaku.
I think, who else have they signed? They've also signed a young lad from Toulouse, haven't they?
It's a Diop.
It's a Diop, so that's
Ryan Fredericks on a free from Fulham.
Fabianski
as well.
I really like both of those signings. Diop, we profiled him when he's playing at Toulouse, didn't we? 4 tackles and interceptions per game.
Very good.
A threat from set pieces. So they've kind of, like you said, been buying better.
Yeah.
But yeah, I still have my sort of reservations about
at least it's
areas
Pellegrini
of that
managing
team.
it, though. At least it's Pellegrini managing it, and it's not David Moyes spending 85 million.
Sure, but defensive midfield is an issue. Like, we've seen 3 managers in a row run out a Noble Kouyaté central midfield, and I'm sorry, but neither of those players is good. Like, they're just they can't be doing it now. Like, it's all very well to improve the other areas of the squad, but there's a limit to what your attack can do if your defence is just shipping goals. Don't get me wrong, I agree with you that Pellegrini will shore it up a bit. People will know what their jobs are. But I think unless Obiang has an absolutely sensational season, or they get somebody between now and the end of the window, because you look at Brighton went and picked up Yves Bissouma. Like, Huddersfield have obviously got Aaron Moy. Like, all these teams that are overperforming tend to have a really solid guy in midfield who is just breaking up play and getting the ball forward. And I'm not sure I see that person at West Ham.
Yeah, don't get me wrong. This is by no means me saying West Ham are going to break into the top 6, or probably even have a Leicester level season, or maybe even an Everton, who I'm expecting quite big things under Marco Silva. But I just think they're going to perform better than they did last season in terms of underdogs, because they've just not been good enough for their level.
They're not going to be relegation fodder.
Difficult injuries to deal with pre-season as well, right? In Lanzini, and I think that Andy Carroll is now out yet again.
Who gives a about Andy Carroll?
While they've brought in players, they are kind of like for like in terms of who is already at the club. They're upgrading existing positions, but not necessarily
I'm excited,
at the moment the voids that are still there.
But an Arnautovic, Yarmolenko, Felipe Anderson potential front trio, that excites me as a West Ham.
I actually think Yarmolenko is great. Yarmolenko underperformed his expected goals and expected assists last season, and his numbers were fantastic though. Like, I mean, there was a suggestion that he should be getting pretty much a goal or assist every game. And admittedly he's playing for Dortmund, but that was a dysfunctional Dortmund.
It was. And
he could have a very good season.
I actually watched Yarmolenko at Wembley against Tottenham in the flesh, and he just, I don't know whether he wasn't fit, but he just was miles off the pace.
Well, on the subject of Dortmund, I've got a couple of clubs dotted from around Europe that I think might impress in their various leagues. And Stuttgart, who only finished 4 points behind Dortmund, are definitely a candidate. So they were promoted during the 16-17 season under Hans Wolf. He was eventually sacked and replaced with Tejan Korkut, who's done a tremendous job since being there, hasn't he? The club only lost 1 of their final 14 games in the Bundesliga.
I think they'd lost like
last
half
season.
Of their games before that.
And they didn't score an awful lot of goals, did they? I think they only scored 36, but they only conceded 36 as well, which was actually the second best in the Bundesliga, behind Bayern, who conceded 28. And they've got a decent mix of experience, actually. They've got Mario Gomez, Badstuber, Dennis Iago, and they've signed some pretty decent emerging talent as well in Pablo Mafia. I was surprised that they got him.
Guy.
So he went on loan from Manchester City last season to Girona, and we saw him have a couple of standout games, particularly against Barcelona, where he man-marked Messi pretty much out of the game. They've also got pretty decent talent there in the form of Pavar as well. Anastasios Donis, who I've kind of looked
He's
into
a really exciting little player.
here and there. But yeah, I think we can expect some decent things from him to come.
World Cup.
Yeah, fantastic World
And
Cup.
they've signed, as well as Maffeo, Nicolas Gonzalez from Argentinos. Now, he's 20 years old. He only scored 7 goals and got 1 assist in 24 games last season. But there was a little bit of a tussle for him. I picked up Castro as well from Dortmund. So
Oh, really? They got Gonzalo Castro?
He's going to plug a couple of gaps.
Leverkusen.
He was at Leverkusen, yeah.
Oh, yeah, we're talking about Stuttgart.
But,
I like Gonzalo Castro. He's quite old now, but he's a really good player.
One of my, just to move on to La Liga, one of my favourite kind of success stories last season was actually Real Betis.
Yeah, sure.
And I was really surprised they got William Carvalho this season, given that how often he's been linked with a move to the Premier League. And he didn't go for 35 million, 40 million, as he's always touted. Yeah. They got him for 18, which is actually really impressive business. Now, they did lose a couple of big hitters in Fabian Ruiz. He went to Napoli for 27 million. And German Pizzella to Fiorentina for 8 million. But like I said, they've bought really wisely as well. And they've actually got one of the best performing goalkeepers over the last 2 seasons in the form of Pau Lopez, who saved around 2.2 shots per goal he conceded last season, which is actually better than Thibaut Courtois at Chelsea.
Spurs, Pau Lopez.
Yeah, who else did they sign? Inui from the Japan national, signing from the Japan national team, obviously performed really well for them at the World Cup. 30 years old, but got him from Sociedad on a free. His stock definitely rose at the World Cup, didn't it? So plugged a few gaps with a few savvy signings.
The question is underdogs as well, so it doesn't necessarily have to be like smaller sides we expect to have a good season. Are there any big teams we think are kind of underdogs? Like you could argue maybe Liverpool. Are we considering Liverpool as underdogs for a Premier League title? Are they now, because they've spent £250 million since January, are they now amongst the 2 favourites?
Yeah, I think they're the second favourite.
And what do you think of these signings, by the way? Alisson this week.
Oh, well, Alisson's a fantastic signing. They're paying quite a lot for him, and I think they could probably have gone and got a Strakosha or whatever. But if they only need to deal with that last position, then fair enough. On the other hand, they're still looking at attacking midfield, so I'm not really certain like what the strategy is there. But the good thing about these signings is people are kind of saying, oh, well, this is going to, if they don't win this season, then, you know, Klopp's failed and maybe he should go. But actually, these are all signings that are going to improve the quality of that team for at least the next 5 years. Yeah. Naby Keita, very young. Fabinho, youngish, 24. You know, if they get Fakir's 25, I think. Yeah. If they get Alisson's 25. These are guys who are going to pay off in the long term, and Liverpool will need to pay less money next summer and the summer after that because they've actually built their squad now quite sensibly.
So do you see Liverpool winning the title?
It only takes an implosion from Man City for them to win the title, and that may be unlikely. But one team imploding is like not that difficult, really.
I mean, don't get me wrong.
Not that it's ever happened.
I also love the signing of Alisson. We've spoken about it enough times on the show that they should go out and splash big money on Jan Oblak. So I think that if Jan isn't available, potentially Alisson is amongst the next best candidates. Certainly, in probably the top 5 goalkeepers in Europe last season.
I think he's definitely Oblak level.
So I'm kept a clean sheet in half of his game last season.
I'm pretty astounded by the fact that they've actually had the bravery to go out and spend that much money. But then, having said that, if you spent 66 million on a striker and he banged 15 goals, people will be going, that's all right bit of business. So why not spend that on a goalkeeper? But do I think it's enough to claw back 19 points on City if City have a standout season? Or at least City...
I think City are unlikely to have that good a season again.
Let's say City drop 7 of those points, so do I see those clawing back 12 points? I still think City are going to win the league title. So
yeah, me too.
I think Liverpool, though, good challenges in the Champions League.
Yeah, they prioritised the Champions League last season as well, which makes part of that difference. But yeah, the Champions League, to me, feels a better fit for them, just because of the way they play.
I can't wait for the Premier League to get back and go. Man United have had a terrible pre-season. I think Chelsea have had a terrible pre-season, although Jorginho comes through the door. What do we think? Just touch on Chelsea quickly. What do you think of Jorginho firstly, and then Thibaut Courtois' exit at €35 million?
Well, it was a big coup for Chelsea, wasn't it? Because I think Manchester City pretty much thought they had their man in the bag in the form of Jorginho, and it leaves Manchester City now needing to sign another controller. So they wanted Fred. They wanted Jorginho. Fernandinho is approaching 33, so they need to actively replace him, and they are running out of options. On transfer review over on EFD, we talked about Thiago Alcantara being an option for them, Bayern making him available for €70 million.
Get him.
I do think he will go for cheap and that eventually, given his injury record. But short of signing Verratti, if Pep is looking for a player of that calibre, he's kind of running out of options as the 8th approaches. This new transfer window policy is going to throw up some surprises, I think, towards the 8th. So I think Jorginho, is he the man that's he's going to bring stability to Chelsea, I guess, in that midfield. They've been a little bit unbalanced for a while, haven't they? He maybe facilitates better performances from Bakayoko and from, Cesc Fabregas can be used sparingly but used really well. He was still creating a shed load of chances, wasn't he, last season from the bench. So it definitely brings more balance. But I think Arsenal and Chelsea are starting from a deficit with their new managers, and their kind of squads need overhauling, less so than the others. So I think Liverpool now, just to go back to your other question, it's never been easier, let's say, and obviously very fine margins in the Premier League, but to kind of really show how much they're progressing.
Yeah.
If they finished second and went trophyless, didn't win a Carabao Cup, didn't win an FA Cup, but as long as they finish second and push Pep Guardiola's Manchester City, I think the board would be reasonably happy with that. And they need a big sort of return on investment, don't they?
Yeah, I think the trouble comes if they finish sort of 19 points behind City again and don't progress.
Yeah. If they're securing Champions League football on the last day of the season.
Yeah, I think there's big areas that they can improve, certainly in domestic trophies and stuff.
My underdog's going to be Real Betis, a 21-point swing from 15-16, finished 6th last season. That's what I'm going for, Real Betis.
Well, and even a bigger swing possibly there, because they weren't great the first half of the season. Then when Mark Bartra came in, just took off. Suddenly we're conceding under a goal a game.
He was
amazing stuff.
He was in the team of the season. He was only there for 6
months. And he was absolutely sensational.
So who's yours again? And then we'll poll them.
Well, I think Leicester are the team that I'm going to watch a lot of this season. I think they'll be really fun to watch. But if I had to pick a team that I think could go above and beyond and win a title, I'd probably go Atletico Madrid. I think this is their window to win a title.
If they throwing that in the 11th hour.
If they don't win the league this season, then I'm not sure I see them doing it again under Simeone. And I really like the additions they've made. I think they've addressed all their areas of weakness. I think Rodri's fantastic. I think Lamar will be good there. Their defence is still obviously supremely good. Griezmann, new contract. Full pre-season for Diego Costa.
Schalke, what a long-term replacement at right back for Juanfran.
He's a
hell of a tournament he had.
He had a fantastic season last year, and even before that, he was very good in Serie A. So I think, I don't know. I'd love Atleti to sneak a title with Barcelona. We're not quite sure how they're rebuilding their squad, and Valverde had a weird end to the season. Real Madrid have obviously lost Ronaldo. This is the time for Atleti.
All right, and I'll finish with West Ham, even though I'm not that confident and don't particularly like him. Anyway, what do you think? Let us know in the poll, out of these three, who's the biggest underdog? Click it out there, the I button. It's time now then for quick fire questions. If you want to get yours answered next week, you can tweet it to us on the below handles. This one comes from Wilkes134. He says, if you could manage a football club, what would your philosophy be? Put this down. Pato, I know you've got a view on philosophy.
Well, I don't know, it's just very vague. It doesn't really mean anything.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, I think you have to play if you're managing a lower table club, then you should probably defend and counter-attack. If you're managing a top-level club, you have to press at this point.
But we're all managing the same mid-level club. Let's put these specifications in place, and with a decent set of players, or you can sign whoever you want. What would your philosophy on paper be?
What does that mean? What does that mean?
So mine would be to grow young attacking players and play attacking football.
So what sort of manager would you be?
So vague.
Is a little bit of a better question, I guess. Do you rule with the iron fist or the silk glove, Patrick Van Straaten?
Or would you go Mourinho, more of a pragmatic style, and sit back and look to counter?
I think if you're in the Premier League, then the thing you've got to do is try and avoid getting relegated. So I'd probably want to build on the defence and try not to get beaten. I like a 3-man midfield. I think it gives solidity.
Build a solid defence. I know you'd say.
Yeah, I think it gives you a solid base. But obviously, what I'd want to do is I'd want to approach it the way I try and approach things, which is that I want to read everything about it and just educate myself and not. What I don't like is walking into a situation where I feel like I don't know enough. So I'd want to go and learn, assistant manage as many great coaches as I could, and then I'd want to play a kind of high pressing
I think
style.
You'd be a bit of a Sarri as well, mate. Bit of a student of the game, but also a proper miserable that doesn't like talking to the press and won't let them in
I'd
any
be great
training
in front
sessions.
of the press, though.
Nah, a couple of...
I'm phenomenal in front of the press.
Couple of questions.
I'd be phenomenal in front of the press.
After a couple of questions that rub you up the wrong way, you'd be, I reckon, at least 5 storm outs per season.
Oh yeah, I told them they were stupid, but like that's
After
fine. I
answering
just
the
send
same question for the 35th time a season, you would go...
Yeah, I'd say this is boring. I'd send my assistant to do most of them. But like, realistically, I think
Football manager, send assistant.
I think you always have to be like... when you say like, are you kind of a disciplinarian or whether it's the arm round? I think it depends on the player, right? Like some people need a kick up the arse, and some people you actually just need to encourage them. Like Zach Jelleb, he's a combination of the two. He's a metaphor for a football club where sometimes you need to boot him, and other times you're just like, that was really good, Zach. Well done, mate.
Yeah.
Because he's also a soft boy.
What about you, Hamster?
Wow. I mean, after that
Brendan
tirade,
Rodgers football.
Keep it short, innit?
Yeah, I'd go to Scotland where it's easy, and I'd build my reputation, and then I'd retire at its apex without really having challenged myself.
Sound like Zidane, mate.
That sound like.
I'm not sure. I can't really treat this question very, very seriously.
All right, let's move on to the next one then.
Yeah.
Cornish 2603. Are you
Christ.
glad the transfer window is shutting pre-season start?
Well, I think a lot of managers called for it, so I think they're going to be glad, right? From our point of view, it means less to talk about, less clickbait for Adam Templeman until the transfer window shuts. So I suppose from a fan point of view, it makes it a little less interesting, but if it means your manager sorts your side out quicker and they gel quicker and you have a better start to the season, then maybe it's a payoff that most fans will accept. Being an Arsenal fan and having seen Unai Emery sort his business out pretty quickly and start training a little bit earlier, is this something you're pleased with?
In a way, I think this is the rare season where I'm really excited about seeing how a bunch of sides play. Like Liverpool are a new look side. Chelsea and Arsenal have got new managers, so I'm really excited about seeing how they play. So in a way, I'm happy to bin off the transfer season and just get to the start of the league. But I think it's clearly the right decision to move the transfer window earlier. But I also think it's the wrong time. I think it was a really strange decision to do this in a World Cup summer when they knew that the transfer window was going to be kind of curtailed anyway, and it's meant that people have had less time to develop their squads. Clubs that have changed manager have had less time for their managers to bed in, and they're still buying new players. Look at the state Chelsea are in this close to the start of the season.
I mean, La Liga, the Bundesliga, and Liga 1 are going to be absolutely delighted, aren't they?
Yeah, 100%. Like I'm not being funny. It's like it's a lot of teams over. Like you just said, then Chelsea are in a real bad situation. Man United have had a horrendous pre-season.
Like the Football League has followed suit, but the rest of Europe still needs to kind of decide whether they're going to do it as well.
Yeah, it's harsh on the Premier League. The next one was sent in by Frag Muffins. He says, where do you think Sergej Milinkovic-Savic should go? Or do you think he should stay at Lazio for another year and develop? Well,
Take it from that question is I'd love a muffin right now.
I don't really care what he does. Like,
you want him to stay?
Well, I don't necessarily want him to stay, but it's hard for me to think of a club where he would fit perfectly. Like, he's a difficult player to find a place for. He can do a lot of different things, but I don't know which position is going to maximise him. I think Spurs could be an interesting one. Obviously, Moussa Dembele turned from an okay attacking midfielder into a fantastic kind of, deep-lying game controller and zone mover. And he's 31 now. Like, I think that would be interesting stuff. Like, so. Maybe
would
there.
never pay the fee though, would they?
No, I don't think
Would you have him at Arsenal?
Yeah, of course I'd have him at Arsenal. But then I think that if Ramsey was to not sign a new contract and we could sell him and bring in Milinkovic-Savic, then sure, that'd be absolutely fine with me. But I'd rather spend money on the wide areas.
I think if you look at the clubs that could afford him, PSG need to offload players, don't they?
Yeah.
In terms of financial fair play, so they're not going to sign him. Juventus have the baller in the hole and a pretty strong three behind either Cristiano Ronaldo or Higuain, don't they? So he's not going there. Real Madrid, I think I'd rather keep Kovacic than spend another £100 million adding a midfielder to the equation when they very obviously need a forward or some more wide talent, don't they? Bayern Munich have a central midfield of Tolisso, Goretzka. I've got other young, promising talent in the side who can supply goals or assists in the form of Serge Gnabry, haven't they? And Kingsley Coman. So in terms of top teams that are in desperate need of attacking talent, I don't know, I kind of saw him at Manchester United when figures of 100 million were being thrown around.
It feels very United-y.
It does, but I think
I think he'd be a better fit at Liverpool,
Savic, but I
arguably.
think he offers kind of similar qualities to I think where Paul Pogba is best suited, carrying the ball through midfield and slightly more advanced in that midfield three. I don't know whether you can have Milinkovic-Savic and Pogba in a central midfield.
He's nowhere near as talented as Pogba.
Yeah, so I think maybe there are better options out there. I think Real Madrid or Bayern Munich are both good options for him. I think Real Madrid, although their midfield is stacked, Modric and Kroos getting no younger, and I know that Kovacic is coming through, but I think if you, let's say in 3 or 4 years' time, had a midfield of Kovacic, Milinkovic-Savic and Casemiro, I think it's very strong.
I feel like the hype has kind of died down a little bit. Like if he has...
They've killed it, Lazio, €100 million price tag have killed the hype.
And the World Cup.
If he has another brilliant season, then maybe justifies the price tag, maybe is sold to one of those clubs. I think they're probably keeping a close eye on him. We discussed a similar scenario with Donnarumma, didn't we? Will he go to Chelsea? Is it worth paying 80 million euros for him at this point? Perhaps not, maybe after another season of playing at that level. But Milinkovic-Savic, I think maybe if he doesn't have another great season and Inter Milan kind of sort their finances out and they make a bit of a comeback, maybe that's a destination for him next season. They certainly could use a few more goals, couldn't they? Mauro Icardi responsible for about 40% of them last campaign.
That's way too much.
But they have signed Nangolan, so.
Right, the next one, Gunnosaurus Flex. That's a good name. He says, which manager do you see yourself in the most?
Another manager question.
Another manager?
You answered the last one. Shall I quickly answer this one and we'll move on?
Keep this one a quickie.
Which manager do I see myself in the most? 3, 2, 1. Steve Clarke of Kilmarnock. Loves a beer.
It's Steve Clarke is in the old West Brom manager.
Famously dull
Loves
man.
the sauce.
What about you, Pat?
I don't care.
You don't care. Quality.
Nico Kovac.
Nico
I see myself in him. You know what I'm saying?
Shave my head. If I could grow a beard, I'll go Sean Dyche. You never know, mate. I'm not, but
his beard
not quite as
his goatee is horrific.
Not
though.
quite as Brexity.
Well, marginally less.
The final quickfire question: Arjan Chambiao says, should Kovacic go to City?
Should Kovacic
go? If he gets the
to
opportunity,
City?
he'd be fantastic there.
But he wouldn't start there either.
He would. He would in the long term. Like realistically, he's actually not dissimilar to the player Fernandinho was before Guardiola got there. Like Fernandinho was a box-to-box midfielder who could play as an attacking mid but had big defensive output, and that's actually what Kovacic is.
Yeah,
I think that Pep could convert him into a nice game-controlling central midfielder quite well.
Because at Inter, he was playing quite deep, actually, Kovacic. At times, he wasn't out-and-out
Phenomenal ball
midfielder.
phenomenal ball carrier, but does have big defensive output, great range of passing, very two-footed.
A few reports this week, though, saying he's sort of Real Madrid want 80 to 100 mil for him.
I think Lopetegui will want to keep him.
Yeah, sure. Definitely. Because
this is a huge transitional period for Real Madrid. Will Karim Benzema stay? It seems to be the latest big question on everyone's lips. There's going to be money to play with. I think if they bring in Eden Hazard as well, like they're going to want to bring the average age of that side down, and Kovacic kind of fits in that theme, doesn't he? Yeah. And Lopetegui has kind of forged a reputation for bringing on promising players, at least in the Spain setup. So I don't know, maybe Kovacic will benefit from that. But it's worth him kicking up a storm now, isn't it? Because every other Real Madrid player is about their current status in the squad. So
yeah,
he's probably just doing the same. I imagine he's pretty comfortable there.
Yeah. So there we have it. We'll throw to another poll. Do you guys at home think Kovacic, get it out eventually, should go to Manchester City? Vote in the poll up there now by clicking the button, yes or no. Should we go straight into the personal question?
Why not?
Let's do it. Right, this one comes from Max98HB, my favourite type of pencil. He says, what would be your last meal on death row?
That's a fire question.
That is a very tough
How many
question.
courses are we talking?
He has actually put in brackets, I want 3 courses.
Oh.
Bang.
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 Oh my
Starters,
God.
Let's go with it.
I'm sweating. This is a lot of pressure, man.
Oh,
Death row. What have you done, first of all, to get there?
What have you done, Patrick? What have you done?
I've obviously killed one of you. Or both.
Yeah.
Put me on
And you know what? I'd surrender myself to the police. I'd be like, worth it.
Yeah.
Holding your head as you approach the police station.
I'd chuck it. I'd run into the cop and
toe
the
bomb
offices,
it. Like you toe bomb
throw it at poet.
I'd be...
Rhymes. Who's the poet now?
I'd be innocent, but I'd be on like a making a murderer scenario. So I would have said something
What?
stupid.
Were you're just a simple, mentally
Joe would have
deranged
chosen
boy?
to represent himself in court, and it would have
Literally, it's so sad. I ended up on death row.
I put it to you, and like, get out. You're
Come on then, what's your meal?
You're going to f***ing jail, Tomlinson.
What's your meal?
Right, well, starter. I think I honestly just go like some fire bread and butter, like French bread, like a baguette. Like it's just so good. I don't want to fill up on starter, so I just want a little bit of good bread is amazing. It's one of life's great pleasures, I think. Bread, salted butter.
I'm going to go for prawn cocktail. I f***ing love them. I only have them at Christmas.
The 70s choice where you're like half cut on sherry and you're just like, oh. Like shoveling
in one of those
cocktail
champagne glasses as well. Yeah. What about you?
I'll go. You did as well. I'll go. I'm going to go down a similar path to Pato. I'm going to go garlic bread.
Oh, great shout!
Garlic.
Loading up on carbs before you.
Yeah.
Who says I don't want to fill up before my main?
They're about to kill me.
They're going to kill us.
They're going to
I
kill
don't
us.
care.
Exactly.
I'll just eat it all until I vomit and die.
I don't care about leaving a good-looking corpse. They're going to burn me.
Oh.
What's going on?
Mains then.
All right, garlic bread. Mains.
Oh, fried chicken of some kind. Really good fried chicken is like probably my favourite.
You can't just have some wings, mate. Come on.
No, I don't want wings. Like I want a whole bird. Like
whole fried chicken.
I don't know. There's like I do want some fried chicken. Somehow I want guacamole involved as well, but I don't really know how.
What is this meal?
I just think fried chicken is just like amazing.
Guac
Fried chicken makes me really happy.
Wow.
Oh, Korean fried chicken from
Korean fried
Cockfighters.
chicken.
I want it flown in.
Shout out to
I want
Cockfighters.
mine flown in. I want that chicken vindaloo we had in Goa flown in by carrier pigeon.
I also
Not how prison works. Or pigeons.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'd also go for a curry, I think.
Yeah,
being from
interesting.
Leicester, home of the slamming curry. I'd actually go for a chicken makhani with a.
Ooh, I like chicken makhani.
You got to go for a naan bread with a keema naan, probably.
Yeah.
It's quite a mild one, but you know.
I'll go garlic naan, I think, with mine.
Garlic.
Got a lot of garlic in there.
Keema naan is
Since
good.
when they go to hang me, I just breathe on them.
What's your pudding?
My pudding, oh woof. My pudding, I'm going to go for just a big slice of chocolate cake with like proper chocolate toffee sauce. You know, it's just fat.
Like
Just
Augustus
like a
Gloop.
drowning,
Just
yeah, man.
eating
Just
it
all-
with
I was
fucking
thinking of the
hands.
kid in Matilda.
Yeah.
Like,
Is that Augustus
No,
Gloop?
that's Bruce Bogtrot.
Bruce.
Bogtrot, yeah.
Is it Bruce?
I would just stick my head in it,
Bruce.
bang.
I was thinking of Bruce Bogtrot.
Although I
used
also
to
like a
fancy
lemon
Matilda.
curd, so torn between a chocolate cake and a lemon curd.
Not recently, that'd be weird. A lemon curd or a chocolate cake? I do like lemon curd.
Lemon curd is
A good lemon
sensational.
meringue it bangs. I reckon I'd go for sticky toffee pudding's good.
Oh, there's a cheesecake's just popped in my head there.
I'm going churros and dulce de leche.
Don't say it in that accent.
Like churros are amazing. They're the best thing in the world.
I mean, they're okay, but
Are you serious?
really an upgrade on a donut.
Yes. Rolled in cinnamon sugar, amazing. Also,
For me, I'm not sure.
or the pine nut praline ice cream from Bertillon in Paris. That is amazing. It's the best ice cream in the world. Except I once had I had a burnt butter ice cream in Sri Lanka, and it was sensational. Oh, fly it in from Goa by carrier pigeon. Shut up, you dickhead. Jesus.
I'd just go, a nice key lime pie. Always a big fan of that.
Is that?
Or just a
Not
tub
great.
of Haagen-Dazs with the
Get out.
Yours is very realistic.
the strawberry cheesecake. Look, I can't.
Like, I'll have a curry from Leicester and I'll have a tub of Haagen-Dazs.
I'm a cheap date. What can I say, Van
Yeah, it's the prison. Fuck them over. So they have to fold afterwards. You've got no money left.
Oh God! As long as there's one of those. As long as there's a hot flannel after the meal, I'll be happy.
Yeah, I need a bath
Love
after
that.
this
Love
meal.
that. Hot
Like,
flannel
I
and
wonder
a
if they let you
slice of
bath.
orange.
I don't think they give you a
That's
bath
a
in prison.
disappointment.
Like a
That's a
last bath
Clean
is
your
not a
bollocks.
thing
I
I've heard of.
Electrocute.
Yeah. So, what would you guys pick as your last meal? 3 courses, please. Leave them in the comments below. 1, 2, 3 with a hashtag FD's last meal.
Possibly the best question we've
Best segment
ever
ever.
thrown out there.
Ever.
So,
N-ball.
are we doing any more?
Oh my god.
Questions? Is that it?
That's it.
Should we go straight into the N-ball?
Yeah,
then?
go on. We'll go straight into an M-ball.
Oh, wonderful.
Because there is more great content on
Go
Football
on,
Daily.
you do the plugs.
If
You
you
know what's on.
enjoyed this episode of Sunday Vibes, then why not go and watch Continental Club on Euro Football Daily and Football Mundial and other videos that need views.
Bye.
Bye.
Sponge cake.